Good evening, I'm Stanley Bean, Director of Schools of Franklin County. Today, I'm here at Huntland High School, Middle School, and Elementary School to read to some of the elementary students about A Christmas Story, Curious George. We're also emphasizing our three major focuses, which are reading in the elementary school, K through 3, our STEM programs, and also, most importantly, our safety, community, and parental engagement. Most importantly, the parental engagement. And that's what I'm trying to emphasize today is the importance of parents reading to your children. The number one reason for children not to achieve is the lack of our parents pushing our students and a lack of focus. So during our Christmas season, we would like you to take the opportunity to read to your students, read to your children, and give them every opportunity to gain knowledge of more words and increase their vocabulary. So thank you for this opportunity, and we hope you enjoy the video. I'm the Director of Schools of Franklin County, and I'm going to read to you a story. And we're reading because of the importance of learning how to read. You know that a lot of kids don't get the opportunity to read. A lot of kids just don't get that opportunity, and it's kind of sad when we don't have that chance. And we really want your parents and your grandparents and your aunts and uncles and your brothers and sisters to read to you so that you can learn as much as you possibly can. Because someday you're going to need to start taking very important tests and doing very important things that are going to determine your future. And that's why we go to school, is for your future. Okay, so you can become something that you want to be. Reading is knowledge. Okay, and when you not have knowledge, you can do anything you want to do. You can be anything you want to be. Okay, but you've got to have some knowledge. Okay, it says you can be, but it takes work. So today I'm going to read a story called Curious George. I bet most of you have heard of Curious George, haven't you? Well, I've got a little Curious George here with me. And the funny thing is, last night I was getting my car and didn't think anything about it, and Curious George decided to talk. Sometimes Curious George will make a noise. Okay, so I'm going to let this young lady right here hold Curious George today as we're going through the story, okay? All right. The title of the story is Merry Christmas, Curious George, because we're 25 days from Christmas, right? Right. So we're getting really close. I know this is seems like a long time away, but it's really not that far. You guys will be making your Christmas list. You probably already have, as Miss Miranda had already asked you, how many of you guys have made your list already? And hopefully you've got that turned in and ready to go. Today we're going to read the story Curious George. A lot of you guys probably have heard this story before, but we're going to go through the story and then we'll talk about it and ask some questions about it. This is George. Everybody knows Curious George. Show a picture of George. Show George up. There's Curious George. Looks like Curious George, doesn't it? This is George. He lived with his friend, the man with the yellow hat. He was a good little monkey and always very curious. Kind of like this little girl here. I bet she's curious, isn't she?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Is Mr. Bishop curious? I bet he's curious too. He's always inquisitive. What does curious mean? Because that's very important to know what curious means. What does curious mean?
Like you know.
You got the idea, I think.
Interested?
What?
Interested in something?
Interested. Okay. Always kind of inquisitive, wanting to know what that is. What's this? What's that? Okay. Sometimes that can get you in trouble, can't it? Mm-hmm. Okay. Today, George was visiting a Christmas tree farm. You can help me pick out the perfect Christmas tree, his friend told him. Keep close to me while we look. George promised that he would be good. But little monkeys sometimes forget, don't they? Hold the monkey up when I say monkey, okay? When I say Curious George and monkey, you hold that up. The Christmas tree farm had more trees than George had ever seen. He found a very nice one right away. But then another caught his eye. Then another one, then another one. George was very curious. How many Christmas trees could there be? George could not resist climbing up the tallest tree to get a better view. He looked for the man with the yellow hat, but his friend was nowhere in sight. Two men came through the clearing. There's our tree, one man told the other. The men cut down the tree and loaded it into the truck. So what happened?
George went with the people.
Uh-huh. He didn't mean to, did he? He was in the tree doing something he wasn't supposed to be doing, because Curious this time got him in a little trouble. So Curious George is in the tree. Along with George, George held on tightly. He saw the man with the yellow hat. The truck drove away, but the truck was going too fast. George could not jump off. He was scared and still a little curious. Soon the truck stopped in front of a hospital. George peeked out the branches as the men carried the tree inside. So where are they taking George now? On the tree, and he's going where? Going to the hospital. The hospital was a busy place. George jumped out of the tree. There was lots here to see and do. He looked at some interesting pictures. What were they looking at there?
He was looking at people's bones in the pictures.
Yeah, looking at x-ray pictures. The veterinarian over here, guy, he'll be looking at pictures one day if he becomes a veterinarian. He'll have to learn about x-rays and what it means when you look at an x-ray. And did somebody say they were going to be a doctor? She's going to be a doctor. She definitely's got to learn about x-rays. So they may be curious one day about what that's going to look like. He found a jacket and tried it on. He played on the trampoline. How many of you guys jump on trampolines? Okay, so you're curious sometimes, right? He even went for a ride on a speedy little cart. What fun. Then George spotted something very interesting. His tree. The tree that he had jumped on. George knew that Christmas trees were supposed to have tinsel and twinkling lights and shiny ornaments. But this tree was empty. George thought and thought, and then he had a great idea. Well, do you know what that is? All right, next George noticed a pile of gifts in the corner of the room. The gifts looked pretty, but George was curious. Could he make them look even prettier? This red bow would look much better on this green box. And the name tags might look nicer on different packages. Well, how would you like that to swap packages with your mom and dad and get their presents?
No.
That wouldn't work out, would it? A nurse arrived, and what did she see? A monkey, and he's making a big mess. Curious George had made a big mess of the Christmas tree. Can you imagine this Christmas tree if everybody here decided they wanted to make some changes, what it would look like? But fortunately, we had our librarians and probably some students to fix this tree up to make it look as nice as they did. So she grabbed Curious George. A group of the children who were in the hospital crowded around the nurse. They were all patients at the hospital. Even though it was almost Christmas, the children were not smiling or looking happy. That's sad, isn't it? It was close to Christmas and the children being in the hospital were not very happy. Come along, the nurse said, picking George up. I'd better get you out of here before you can ruin anything else. Now George is probably sad. A girl with a cast stared at George's tree. Suddenly she giggled. Look, she said, it's my x-ray. He had hung one of the x-ray pictures up on the Christmas tree. Has anybody ever seen an x-ray on a Christmas tree?
No.
But would it make you laugh?
Yes.
It'd probably be funny, wouldn't it? It's my x-ray. A boy laughed. And there's a balloon from my room. All the children started chattering and laughing as they looked at George's funny decorations. Can't he stay for the party? A boy asked the nurse. We don't mind about the gifts. It will be fun to sort them out. Please let them stay, please. The other children chimed in. So Curious George now is having a good time. When she saw how happy the children looked, the nurse looked happier too. I suppose he can stay if he promises to fix that tree. So the children got together and George was happy to help. The children helped too. Some of them returned George's decorations while others handed George the real ornaments. He scampered them down, singing lights and hanging tinsel. Being a monkey, he was good at that sort of thing. How many of y'all act like a monkey sometimes? Yeah, everybody acts a little bit of a monkey sometimes. I know somebody acts like a monkey a lot of times. Who?
I do.
You do?
I do.
You act like a monkey?
I do.
Hopefully y'all don't get in trouble this Christmas. He was also good at making the children laugh. Do you make people laugh when you act like a monkey? Sometimes you do, but sometimes you might get in trouble for acting like a monkey. When the tree was finished, George helped open the gifts. He was having such a good time, he was completely forgot that he was lost. Remember? He was brought to the hospital and didn't know where his friend with the yellow hat was. Until the man with the yellow hat hurried into the room. "There you are, George," he cried. "I followed that truck all the way here." George was very happy he had returned to his friend. The nurse invited them both to stay for milk and cookies. Boy, I wish we had milk and cookies, don't you?
Yep.
Ho, ho, ho! Who just came in?
Santa.
Did someone mention milk and cookies? A man in a red suit walked into the room. His belly was jiggling. He was holding a beautiful golden star. George's eyes widened. It was Santa Claus. "Who would like to put on a star on top of a tree?" Santa said. "George!" the children cried. "Let George do it." So George scurried up the tree. Because he was a monkey, he could climb up that tree quickly. George scurried up the tree one last time. He put the golden star on carefully. "Merry Christmas, Curious George." And that's the end. This tree probably has something up there that's been put up there by someone as well. And that's kind of the last thing you do for Christmas, isn't it? Your Christmas tree, you put the star up on top. So what happened with George? What was his first thing that showed how curious he was? He did what? He climbed the...
He climbed the tree.
That's right. And it got him in trouble because what happened?
Because he didn't get out sooner, and the people took the tree.
That's right.
And he didn't get out the tree sooner.
That is right. So Curious George got to go to the hospital where he made a mess, but he corrected it, didn't he? He fixed everything, and so Curious George, hold up Curious George, ended up being a pretty good monkey, right? He saved the day by putting the star at the top of the tree. Did y'all enjoy Curious George's story? How many of y'all had heard that story before? Okay, a few of you. How many of you guys read every day at home? Wow, that is great. You know, I wish everybody in third grade would go home and ask someone to read to you for about 15 to 20 minutes every day. You know, if you read for 15 minutes a day in a year or two, you would hear over 84 million words. That'd make you pretty smart, wouldn't it? And that's what we talked about, was the importance of reading. Okay? So you need to have people read you. Most of you can read on your own. Okay? And that's great as well. But having people read to you is okay still at your age, because you enjoy the stories. It's nice to hear people read.
If you read to me, it'll help my brain grow.
Can everybody repeat that?
If you read to me, you'll help my brain grow.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas!
All right. Can we sing "We Wish You a Merry Christmas"?
Yes!
All right, ready? We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. That's good.